we're going to take this old discarded library book and turn it into this beautiful honeycomb shaped Christmas tree. So stay tuned and I'll show you how to make it. To make the honeycomb Christmas tree, it's very simple. All you need is some paper and a glue runner. That's the best thing to use. Now for this one, I'm using an old book. This is a withdrawn book I got from the library where I work. And this book had 400 and some pages, so I could make quite a few trees out of this. This is a stack of 50, and that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to start with 50 to see if that's big enough. I made a smaller one, and 50 was just about right. So I'm going to see how this goes with 50 for the larger one. These are basically, as you can see, one whole page tall. What I did was I cut them out because, again, this is a bound spine, so they're not as easily pulled out as the glued spines. So I cut them out, and then I put them on my Cricut, and I cut all of these out with a Cricut. You could cut them all out by hand, but I would highly recommend doing them on the Cricut because you'll get the same cut every time. With my Cricut and my design space and how I could not get it to stop doing this because it was wanting to put them on each page. I had two. What I did was I just tucked the 2 pages and then I put them this way, and they were 12 inches, but my Cricut design space was trying to make them wider, and I don't know why, so I ended up putting it this way. It told me I needed a 24-inch mat, but obviously I didn't, so I told it was a 24-inch mat even though it wasn't, and it cut them out fine. The only problem I had, and I had to cut several pages because of this issue, I didn't notice when I picked this book, but the texture of this paper, it has somewhat of a little bit of a texture to it. It's not completely smooth. And when the Cricut was cutting it, it didn't always cut cleanly. And I tried several different settings. I tried cardstock, I tried vellum, I tried obviously copy paper. And no matter what I tried, it still would tear. And it was usually right around in here. And I've got a few of them that still have that on there. But for the most part, it worked. So if you're doing this, I would suggest getting a book that has much smoother texture on the pages. I liked this because it was had a good weight to the paper, but that ended up being not as good to cut out, or I couldn't find the setting I needed to put on the Cricut. I do have another book that I want to try that has a different texture. The paper has a different texture. It's not as rough as this one was. So I'll try it and see how it works. All right, so now all we have to do with these, I've got 50 here. And when I made the smaller one, 50 was a really good number. I will put the link where I found this template down in the comments so that you can go to it, because the lady who did this, she has it in SVG and she has it in, I think, in PDF, and it also has the glue lines and everything on it, so you can see what to do and where to go if you get lost while I'm doing this. But all you really need is a shape that's symmetrical so that you can fold it and it'll be symmetrical. So that's all you really need. All you need to do first is to fold them. Fold all the trees in half. And if you have your bone folder from the other project, that would be excellent. So I may just go ahead and pre-fold all of these and then come back and show you the next step. So once you've got all of your tree in half, the next thing to do is to pick the glue. And this is where this thing comes in handy. I tried this with a glue pen and it didn't work. The glue just it made the paper too wet, and pressing it was a mess. If you use a glue runner, you'll get it. It'll be done right away too. So that's the other advantage. So what you do is You put a piece up on the top, the very tip top, and then you put one down at the base of the first tree limb. Put one at the base of the second tree limb, and one at the base of the bottom tree limb, and then fold it together. And there you go. So you need two of these, and it works better if you do them like in two at a time. So you should have glue here, 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 and here. And then just press it together. So then when you have your two halves, so it makes up your tree, then you do it the opposite. So you do it in the middle of the branch. So midway through here, midway through this one, midway through this one, and then at the base of the trunk. And when you have that, you set the other piece on top. The other folded piece that's been glued. And then when you get a bunch of these together, then you'll just keep stacking them. So then when you have a couple of the pairs together, then you can do the same thing. You'll do the same thing. It'll be the middle part. And you stick that. So when you have the halved, I'm sorry, it has the F word on it. If once you have the halves like this, start building them, and then when you get all finished, we'll come back and see that. The instructions that I have for this says to build your pairs. So your when you glue your two together and then those two on top of each other, to stack them in manageable sizes so that you can keep it from getting like overwhelmed too much. So that's what I have here. I think there's like 14 in this one, about 16 in this one, and I know 20 in this one. So that's how I have them right now. The other thing I want to talk about are these tape runners. This is the one I started with. I got this at Michael's, and I could not get through all 50 of these pages with this. So I had to go buy another one, and I ended up buying this one. This is an Ad Tech. I bought this at Joann's. It's also has refills. It's refillable, and you can actually see the tape in there, whereas you can't see this one. This one I had a lot of difficulty with when I pressed it down, and also had a difficulty of finding what was top and what was bottom, because as you can see, it's shaped. This one's clearly shaped what is a bottom. This one was not, and I would pick it up and have it upside down. This one also was very difficult. The roller was difficult. This one is a lot smoother. So I do recommend this one of these two. I don't recommend this one. This one was from Michael's. This one I got at Joann's. I think this is like a brand that you can get anywhere. Okay, so that's one thing I want to talk about with tape. So now that I have my sections, you're basically going to be doing the same side. So you're doing the middle part and just putting the middle pieces. And this, why it suggests this is because this lining these up are more difficult if you, the more you have. So if you work in stages, it will, in theory, be a lot easier or a lot flatter. So your bottom, okay. So that's, I think, why they have suggested that you do it that way. But yeah, this one just rolls on so much nicer. You don't have to put, that one I was putting a lot of pressure on it and it was still not working. This one just rolls very nice. So I recommend this one. So this is 50 pages. And like I said, this book this is the height, almost the entire height of the page, as you can see. It's almost the entire height of the book. Now, the other thing is, if you're going to not fold these up, I don't know if you remember the ones when I was a kid in the late 70s and early 80s. There were like you had a little piece of cardboard on both sides, and then you had a metal thing where you flipped it over and attached them. You could do something like that. But if you're going to attach it permanently, just go ahead and use your glue. The other thing is, and I'm going to do this after I open it up, once I do that, it was also suggested that you put some glue on the spine, so to speak, to keep it from pulling apart. And I may end up doing that as well. All right, so the moment of truth. This is the honeycomb tree, and it pops right out. There you go. Isn't that awesome? So yeah, you would want to glue these two pieces together, pull it out, and so put your strip on this the way you were doing with the middle pieces and the trunk, and put it together.